You guys asked for it, here's another story time. One night, a woman was driving home late at night from dinner with some of her friends. As she was driving, she noticed a pair of headlights in her rearview mirror approaching the car. As this car pulled up behind her, she glanced and saw the driver switch the turn signal on as if it was about to pass, before suddenly swerving back behind her and pulling up dangerously close to her, flashing its lights. The frightened woman struggled to keep her eyes on the road and finally turned onto the exit. Through every stoplight and turn, the car followed her, still flashing its lights until she pulled into her driveway. She figured her only hope was to make a dash into the house and call the police, but as she jumped out of the car, so did the driver of the car behind her, and he screamed, "Lock the doors and call 911. When the police arrived, it was revealed that as the man in the car had pulled up behind her, his headlights illuminated the car and he saw a silhouette of a man in the back seat reaching to grab the woman.
So when I was a sophomore in high school, I had this teacher who would only let the students in her class use the restroom one time per semester. Well, one day I raised my hand and I was like, "Excuse me," I don't remember her name, "can I please use the restroom?" And she was like, "No, you can't because you've already used the restroom in my class this semester." Well, excuse me, you can't dictate my bladder. So I'm like all frustrated, and I started secretly texting my mom because I wasn't allowed to use my phone in class. And I was like, "Mom, I'm sitting in class right now. My teacher won't let me use the restroom." And she was like, "I'll take care of it for you." And I was like, "Okay." So like 5 minutes goes by, and all of a sudden my teacher's phone starts ringing. And she walks up to it and answers it, and she's like, "Hello?" "Yeah. Okay, thank you." And then she walks up to me like so angry and she like slams the pass on my desk and she was like, "Since you have to go that bad." And I was like, "Yeah, I really do. Thanks." And I got up and left. I didn't even have to go to the bathroom. It was just the principle of it. I just roamed the hall.
When I was in 4th grade, I started becoming friends with this girl, Maddie. She was the coolest girl in the grade. Everyone loved her. She wasn't a mean, popular girl, though. She was really nice. One day, Maddie invited me over for a sleepover, and I, of course, said yes. So I'm at Maddie's house. We're having a great time. But one thing I didn't tell Maddie is that I'm slightly lactose intolerant, and her dad made 3-cheese macaroni that night for dinner. But I was too nervous to say anything, so I ate the entire bowl. And then we started watching a movie, and I'm really not feeling good. So I go to the bathroom, and I take a huge shit. But for some reason, the toilet isn't flushing. It's not clogged, but you just can't flush. So I panic. I look through her bathroom cabinets and I find Ziploc bags. I reach into the toilet and I take my shit out and I put it in the Ziploc bag and then I throw it out the window. A few weeks later in school, Maddie tells me that her mom is worried they have a peeping Tom coming to their house trying to scare them. Her mom called the police and asked them to keep an eye on her street. And when I asked Maddie why her mom thought that, she said, "Well, it's pretty gross, but he pooped in a Ziploc bag and threw it at our rose bushes." Maddie said my mom's really upset because the rose bushes are where my mom put my grandma's ashes. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's super scary. Hopefully they find the guy who did that. And hopefully Maddie never sees."
I have a TV show idea. A 17-year-old girl wakes up after being in a coma for a year. The doctor said she was in a car accident. The doctors quickly realize that she doesn't remember anything about her life. Eventually, she goes home with a family that she doesn't even recognize. What she was told, she had the picture-perfect life. Wealthy family, great school, great friends, good grades. But as time goes forward, she starts to remember little things. Things that don't line up with what her family has told her. Now she has a choice. She has been put into this perfect life. But will she choose to investigate further what actually happened to her the day of the accident? I'm copywriting.
Have you ever tried blending your foundation?
No, but that looks so good, so let's try it. So she just took one of these face rollers and rolled it all over her face. And it is meant to make your skin go really smooth and flawless. I'm using the smaller side around my eyes and my nose. This is what it looks like before the rest of my makeup. This is what it looks like all done. I'm obsessed. It looks so good.
This is why you should never call your own number.
So this is a creepypasta that I heard that is definitely really creepy. They say that you should never answer your phone if it's your own number calling you, because once you do, the game begins and you can't get out of it. So if you ignore the call, you're totally fine. But some people are curious and need to know who's on the other end. Basically, if you answer it, whatever you say into the phone, your own voice will say back to you. So if you say, "Hi, who is this?" you'll hear, "Hi, who is this?" But what you don't know is that as long as you stay on the phone, your doppelganger is coming for you. It can track your location as long as you're speaking to it. So there are stories on the internet about people's doppelgangers arriving at their front door or peering through their bedroom windows. And basically your doppelganger wants to take over your life. This kind of reminds me of the movie Us. Anybody else? And no one will know you are gone when they replace you. So don't call your own.
Am I the asshole for telling my mom I won't take care of her when she's too ill to take care of herself? I, female 19, am the youngest of 5. I have 4 older brothers, 21, 22, 25, and 28. Just to give some background, my mom has always loved being a boy mom. She dotes on them and made it very clear she never wanted to and didn't like having a daughter. She never liked me, and I accepted that a long time ago, and her behavior towards me worsened when my dad left her. When I turned 16, her gift to me was a list of jobs I can apply to pay for my expenses, even though my dad was giving her child support. Then, at 17, she kicked me out because I wasn't willing to pay more than $400 for rent while my brothers didn't even work. So, she asked me to meet for lunch last week and told me she is sick. And she's been in and out of the hospital.
If you're ever driving late at night, don't do what they did. One night, a boy and his friend were on their way to a school dance when they saw a girl on the side of the road looking lost. They stopped the car and asked if she needed a ride, and she asked them to take her home. They said that they were going to a school dance and asked if she wanted to come too. She agreed. But these boys wouldn't know yet that this girl was not an average hitchhiker. So they all got in the car and the girl sat in the back seat. After a while, the girl would constantly say that she was cold, so one of the boys gave her his jacket. They got to the dance and things were pretty normal, but what happened after would make the boys question reality. When the night was almost over, it was finally time to take the girl home. When they almost arrived, the girl told them where she lived but told them to drop her off close by so she can walk the rest of the way. So that's what they did. But after the girl walked away, the boy who let her borrow his jacket realized that he never asked for his jacket back. His friend said that they could just come back tomorrow for it. The next morning, they came back expecting to get the jacket and leave, but things were not so simple. They came up to the girl's house and knocked on the door, but they were shocked at what they discovered as soon as the door opened. Follow for part 2.
I've been dress coded for having a singular rip on my knee, right? And the vice principal and the assistant teacher harassing me the whole time. They make me change in a room with cement walls and dirt floors. They lock me in there, make me change, and they give me pants from the Lost and Found that are 2 sizes too small and dirty, right? So the teacher's walking me back to my class. She's harassing me the whole time, making fun of me. And I get back to class and I'm just crying because I'm so humiliated. They really just brought me down. So my teacher comes up to me and she's like, "What's wrong? What happened? Why'd they take you down to the office? What took so long?" And I tell her the story, and I tell the class the story. And nobody believes me. They're like, well, some of the students did. They were like, "What, really? That's crazy." But the teacher was like, "I'm not buying it. You're lying to me." And I was like, yeah, I wouldn't believe myself either. That's crazy, right? So at the end of the day, I go down to the office and I ask for my pants back. And they said, "No, we don't want you wearing those pants again." So I was like, okay, I'll go back.
This is why you should never take a prank too far. Once there were 2 young twins who lived in a small town and they were known for constantly misbehaving. One day a man had passed away peacefully in his home and the twins wanted to play a prank on everyone else living in the town, so they snuck into the house and started messing with the man's body. One twin moved his mouth like a puppet and the other one poked his eyes out with a stick. As they were doing this, they heard footsteps. They couldn't find anywhere to hide, so they placed the body back in the coffin, then got in the coffin themselves and closed the lid. But what they didn't know was they were taking the coffin straight to the funeral. The people carrying the coffin noted that it was much heavier than usual but brushed it off. No one even noticed that the twins were gone until the coffin was lowered. The twins' mother appeared at the cemetery about the missing twins, which stopped the funeral and began a search. Eventually, the man carrying the coffin confessed that the coffin had weighed more than it was supposed to, so they lifted it out and opened the lid. They did find the boys there, but they found them lying on top of the body, whose hands were wrapped tightly around each of their necks. The twins had been strangled.
Storytime about how I was almost kidnapped. So a little background information, I was 13, and it was the summer going into 9th grade. I was on a road trip with my family, and we needed to stop for some gas. So we stopped at some random gas station, and we see this lady get out of her car and walk in. No big deal, though. So we're inside, and we're waiting in line to use the bathroom. So we were in the front of the line, and then that lady was behind us, and then there were a few people behind her. So as we're standing in line, she FaceTimes some guy, and then she starts pointing the camera at people around the store, and she would be like, "Oh, do you like this?" And he would say yes or no. Well, then she points the phone at me, and then he goes, "Yeah, that's the one." And my mom and I were super creeped out about this, because she was being super loud and she was taking a really long time at this gas station. So my mom goes into the bathroom, and then she starts to talk to me. She starts asking how old I am, where I'm from, and if my mom and I were here with anybody else. Like for part 2.
Whenever they're passing with you, there can be a bit timing after all the shit that we have been through. I was a mess at times, then took all parts and made them collide until the right ones fell into line. To get something unpredictable, you feel unbelievable.